What's up, my fellow nerds? Welcome back to Dees Nerds. I am Chris,
I'm Michelle.
and we are doing a What Are We Watching Volume 8.
8.
All right, before we get started, I just want to do a little bit of house cleaning and just announce that as of tonight, we are filming this video. We are at 104 subscribers. Yay! Oh my gosh, thank you guys so much. I mean, in less than 6 months, we've gotten over 100 subscribers, and I think whenever we started this channel, we were hoping to get 100 within 2 years. So, guys, thank you so much. Of course, feel free to share our videos anywhere and help us get more. And we just appreciate all the support so far. So, thank you.
So first off is something we don't have a physical copy because it's brand new on Netflix, and that is Enola Holmes. So we actually did a complete review on what we thought of this movie, and we'll put that in a card right up here. So be sure to go check that out because I'm not going to say too much more than that, but I will say that we enjoyed it. So the next thing we have going is actually something we haven't shown you before, which is television shows. So we've worked our way through a couple of seasons recently, and what's the first one we just finished yesterday?
We went back and finished one of our absolute favorite shows. We wanted to go back to the start of it, so we went to Arrow, Season 1. Stephen Amell, just absolutely wonderful. Very kind of dark and gritty take on the Green Arrow. And I give that
chef kiss for a different reason.
So. You are quite the fan of Stephen Amell, aren't you, Michelle?
Yes.
I believe in the Enola Holmes video, you were talking about Henry Cavill being the prettiest Sherlock Holmes you've ever seen. Is Stephen Amell definitely on the pretty scale?
Okay, for sure.
Gotcha.
So another show that we finished watching, and we also have a review of this one, is Swamp Thing. So we finished this one recently. We were both keen to watch it again pretty much immediately, which tells you a lot. But we'll also drop that review in a card above if you want to see more about what we thought of it in great detail. So
yeah, we went in pretty big detail. That was a fun review. There was a lot to break down that show. We really liked that show a lot. What we did next this was one that I was really excited to show our daughter Charlotte, because she loves Batman because of me, and she loves Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles because of me. And we watched Batman versus the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And this film is awesome. I did a top 5 where I ranked my favorite versions of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And I may take some time, especially after the Seth Rogen produced movie comes out here in a couple of years or so. I may have to revisit that top 5 ranking, because this was a great version of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but it was also a great version of Batman. You watched that with us, and I know Charlotte, she loved it.
It's a lot of fun. The turtles in it are really fun, and exactly the personality that I think you would hope that they would have. And then Batman's interaction with them, of course, is very curmudgeonly, because Batman versus the fun-loving turtles. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a match made in heaven. I hope they do a sequel.
So next up is an 80s classic, and that is 16 Candles. I grew up watching this movie a ton, and I still really enjoy it, but man, there are some things in this movie that did not age well at all.
No, it didn't.
Boy, oh boy.
Stereotypes galore, especially with, what was his name?
Ted?
I was thinking about the Asian guy.
Oh, Long Duck Dong.
Long Duck Dong. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that and some definitely inappropriate sharing of girls. That's, I don't know how better way to put that. Just like treating women as property a little bit in a couple of cases. So still a lot of fun movie, but you kind of just have to remember that it was made in the 80s and it was a different time.
So kind of going back down the DC train a little bit, we watched another chapter in the DC animated movie universe, and we watched Constantine, City of Demons. And what I love about this series of films is that this series of films can get really dark and like R-rated, which normally you would not see from DC related material. Normally, they're PG-13, with the obvious exception of like Swamp Thing, which that is definitely like an R-rated type endeavor. But like I said, this one gets really dark. It's rated R. It's just a lot of fun. And John Constantine, he's awesome.
Although speaking from a squeamish person's perspective, that's pretty disgusting for an animated movie.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is. It is definitely all of the R rating it deserves.
Up next is something I hadn't seen since I was probably a teenager, but we grabbed it on 4K, and that is The Mask of Zorro. What a fun adventure movie.
Absolutely.
And a kind of low-key hero, too.
Absolutely. And it's a great movie, and one thing that I don't think you were aware of that I ended up telling you is that how big of an influence he actually was on Batman. He has a cave. Tornado is kind of like the Batmobile, and I mean that was a big influence on Bob Kane and Bill Finger whenever they came up with the character. And that was one I loved as a kid. It was kind of like going as we got the movies watching. I was like, man, like I used to love watching Zorro as a kid, and like there were other versions too. I think there was like a late 50s, early 60s TV show, and it was fantastic. But this is a great interpretation, and it just kind of leads me that they should do more in that. I mean, that's a compelling character, so they should definitely revisit that in the future. I don't know if you can tell, but I like Batman. I like Batman a lot, so no shock. We've got another Batman movie here. So it's another animated film, but it's not set in that DC animated movie universe. It's a standalone. It's the animated adaptation of Batman Year One. And I watched this. I think you didn't watch this with me, but you've seen this one before. It's really good. It's really short because it's basically a pretty literal adaptation of Batman Year One, the very influential comic book. But overall, I mean, it's really good. It hits the high points of what it needs to do, so you get to see that in kind of in movement instead of just on the page. And I enjoy it. It's great. It's a great Batman story for whenever you don't want to like watch a full 2-hour feature or even like an hour and a half. You just have like an hour to kill and you want to watch Batman. So great movie.
So we've been watching some Marvel lately and working our way slowly through the MCU. But I just was really in the mood for a blast from the past. This is the first superhero movie I can honestly say I remember going to see in a theater. And this is the Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire and Willem Dafoe and James Franco and Kirsten Dunst. And I loved this movie. And I still really enjoy it. He's not my favorite Spider-Man, but this is definitely a nostalgia movie for me. This is, like I said, the first superhero movie I remember seeing in the theaters and the first one that really captured me. So I really enjoy it.
Yeah, and I know I ranked my top 4 Spider-Man actors and actually placed Tobey Maguire at number 4. So I understand that was a little controversial. I got some messages back kind of like, I don't know about that. I do love these films, and I do really like him as Spider-Man. They're still very enjoyable, and I think it's cool that we can still go back and watch these 20 years later or something like that, and they're still really enjoyable. And I mean, come on, J. Jonah Jameson in this trilogy is still just so amazing. Yeah, it's killer. All right, so this is one that I believe this is one of the ones that I did in kind of a movie haul video here recently, and just love this movie. I don't think I've shown it to you yet, but it's The Return of Swamp Thing. And I mean, I think we've had a bit of a Swamp Thing kick here on this match, but I love this movie. This is one I remember from whenever I was a kid. It is campy as all get out, and probably not the greatest movie, but it is still a lot of fun. Dick Durock is Swamp Thing, Heather Locklear's in it. She's a lot of fun. I mean, it's a fun romp, and you know what? Compared to the first Swamp Thing, the suit is way better. So yeah, I definitely recommend it for a cheesy good time.
Next up, we have some more nostalgia favorites of both of ours. And this was actually in our most recent movie haul. So we have all 3 of the Mighty Ducks movies.
Quack, 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 quack.
Yes. Thank you very much, Mr. Ducksworth. Quack, 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 Mr. Ducksworth. So these are kid classics. They are sports movie classics. I love them all. They are so much fun.
And I believe in our recent video where we both ranked our top 10 favorite sports films, they made it into both of our top 10s. I mean, we basically combine all those movies into one because really they're a very consistent trilogy.
And once we start watching them, we have to watch all of them.
Absolutely.
So you can't just leave it.
Yeah, like Pringles. You can't have just one. All right, so this one here, again, I guess we just like DC on this channel. Now, we love Marvel as well, and I think we have some plans for some Marvel stuff coming up, but, I grew up on DC. It's my favorite, but again, love Marvel as well. So Marvel people, we got you coming. We're coming soon. So, but this one we watched was Birds of Prey. The thing about this one was I really wanted to see it in theaters, but like I said, we were I think that time schedules were really crazy. I was traveling quite a bit for my job, and we just never quite got around to it. And then the events that happened in March with, the pandemic and everything hit. And so Didn't really get a chance to see it until we bought it here. And the interesting thing about it is, and I think we both agreed on it, is Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn is just perfect. I mean, she, live action wise, I can't think of anybody else that could bring that to life better than her. And a lot of great performances in here. Ewan McGregor as Black Mask, I thought it was a very interesting take. Of course, Black Canary in here, I really liked that take on her in this one. Rosie Perez as Montoya, she's awesome. I mean, there's some great performances in here. The thing that it's the same problem with it that kind of fails Suicide Squad is the story to me is really weak. And it's the same problem as in Suicide Squad. Loved the performances, and I think you were the same way. Loved the performances. It's just the story. It's almost like the story didn't deserve the great performances that they got.
There's a lot of underutilized characters in this.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, and this may be an unpopular opinion, I'm sure that it will be, but I have the same problem with this movie as I have with Deadpool. Like, it's just 2 hours of Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn being Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn, and I just felt like the rest of it was kind of like, meh. Like, I really wasn't there for the rest of it.
It's almost like the whole point of the movie is to just get to watch her as Harley Quinn
and watch her heart break over her egg sandwich.
Yeah, exactly. Now that part was funny. I mean, there's some really funny parts to this movie.
I mean, it's the same way with Deadpool. There's some really great moments, but just I feel like overall when I think about that movie, I don't even remember half the story.
Yeah, so we definitely want to revisit it, and we do here coming up soon. I think we're deciding whether or not we want to wait for the Snyder Cut and Wonder Woman 1984 should it ever get released to come out. We do eventually want to rank the DCEU films up to this point.
Well, apparently, holy smokes, I'm in nostalgia mode. Okay, So speaking of nostalgia, we have the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie from 1995. I grew up watching the Power Rangers. I loved the Power Rangers. I actually recently dug out some of my old Power Rangers toys to look at that my mom had saved from when I was a kid. And I still enjoy this movie, I think, just as much as I did when I was a kid. I mean, no one ever expected this to be like a masterful piece of cinema, but it's so much fun, and just kind of getting to geek out and enjoy the Power Rangers like I used to is very satisfying. And this is a Shout Factory edition, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this has a particularly good, like, 45-minute documentary on it. So it was new to this version. So if you've ever been into the Power Rangers, if you loved this movie, it's worth picking up this particular copy because that special feature was 100% worth the watch. Basically, all of the Power Rangers except for Amy Jo Johnson made an appearance and did some interviews. Lots of interviewing with the director. Definitely worth it. Really fun.
Now, of course, in a movie haul, I talked about the fact that I bought the first 3 seasons and that film for Michelle for Christmas, and couldn't really wait until Christmas. Just had to give it to her. So
self-control.
So now that I've kind of told my version of that story, Michelle, what did you think about about what I bought you?
Well, I just happened to remark to him when we were standing in the kitchen one day that I really wanted to share the Power Rangers with our daughter the way that he shares Batman and Ninja Turtles with her. And then he runs off for a second in the bedroom and comes back and hands me this package and is like, here. And I was like, oh, so very, very excited. I really like them. We've watched almost all of the first season, I think, as well.
And how much has Charlotte loved it?
She loves it.
Mm-hmm.
Her favorite Rangers are the Yellow Ranger and the Black Ranger. So she likes Trini and Zach.
This next one here is one we haven't watched it. It's October, so I'll probably definitely want to revisit this with you at some point. I've been on a huge John Carpenter kick, as I think I've mentioned in a couple of videos, trying to collect as many of his films as I can get. The great thing about it is a whole lot of them are on Shout Factory, which Shout Factory just love the way that they present movies and the special features that they put in with it. So this one that I got and watched was The Fog. And this one is so awesome. I mean, it's just a great kind of ghost story. And it's just John Carpenter's kind of the way he shoots movies and everything. I really love the way he does it. And it's just a great movie. Tom Atkins is in it. Jamie Lee Curtis, Janet Leigh from Psycho, she's in it. I mean, just a great cast, a great story. And it's definitely very creepy.
Next up is another movie that made it in our sports movie video,
Mm-hmm.
and that is A League of Their Own, because there's no crying in baseball.
Batter up.
Oof. I may want to cut that part out.
Yeah, exactly.
But this is a favorite of mine. This is one that I watched with my mom all the time, that we quoted all the time, and so I love it. It's such a good movie, and it's so cool because it was real. I mean, you know, based on something real, the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League. And I just always thought that was super cool. So much love for this movie.
Yeah, it's a great baseball movie. It's got great performances, and I think like most great baseball movies, it has just this touch of nostalgia to it that it just kind of makes you feel warm and fuzzy as you watch it. And yeah, that's one I really love too. All right, so again, John Carpenter. We watched Escape from New York. Now this one you did watch with me. Kurt Russell, Snake Plissken, just awesome. Love it, love it, love it. I know you had differing opinions on it, though.
Listen, here's the thing. I love Halloween that John Carpenter directed, but I feel like everything we've watched John Carpenter since then, including the next movie you got in your pile, I don't get it. Like, I don't get it. I don't know what it is. Like, I'm sure, like, he loves them, and I don't think that they're bad. I just don't think I don't understand his sensibility. I don't know. I don't get it.
I think you said that you feel like his sensibility is a bit on the cynical side.
Whimsical maybe, and cynical too, but definitely a little bit weirdly whimsical for me.
Yeah, but yeah, I love that one. I can't wait to get Escape from LA.
So next up is another one that we've definitely watched plenty of times before, but it was one that Charlotte actually asked for. So we have Star Wars The Force Awakens, and we also talked about these in depth in our Star Wars ranked video, so if you haven't seen that, we'll make sure to leave a card for that one. But Charlotte, I have the pops, or 5 of the pops that go with this movie, and Charlotte always looks at them and talks about them, and we have a couple of Star Wars books that she likes to look at that are kids' books, you know, and so she really wanted to watch this, so we watched this with her, and she loved it.
Yeah, I think we watched that one over 3 nights because we didn't get started on it, and her bedtime's at 8 o'clock, so we stopped it at the end, and she was very adamant that she finished the movie, so yeah, she loves that. Yeah,
she has a lot of fun with Rey and BB-8 especially.
All right, now this one I can actually forgive you for not liking, because I think this film, everything that you look at on the face of it, you think it's going to be one type of movie, or like I've actually had different people mention that they thought it was a different type of movie, each individual person I've talked to almost, and what you get you just don't expect. It's almost like you have to watch it to really understand what it is. But it's Big Trouble in Little China. And, like I said, this movie is just bonkers. It is very weird, but I think what really saves it for me is just, you have Kurt Russell just basically doing his best John Wayne impersonation through the whole thing, and with some really cool, like, kind of kung fu, supernatural. I mean, it's bonkers. It's all over the place. I know you were just kind of like, what did I just watch?
It was a definite head scratcher for me, and I think because I grew up watching Kurt Russell in these very traditional style 80s movies, to watch him in these that were so bizarre. What? Yeah,
him and John Carpenter, like they did several movies together, including an Elvis biopic. So I've got to get that one, because I mean, you think about John Carpenter and you think about these kind of gritty, thrillers or horror movies, and then he did an Elvis biopic, and then of course he also did Starman with, I think, Jeff Bridges. So he's got some weird stuff out there too, but it's a bonkers film for sure.
Next up is in the animated realm on my side, Wreck-It Ralph.
I'm gonna wreck it.
I love this movie.
I know, I do too.
It's definitely one of those that I think is just as entertaining to watch as an adult as it is if you are a kid, because Charlotte liked it for totally different reasons than we like it.
Yeah.
But it's so much fun, and if you have not seen this one, I definitely recommend picking it up, because it's got a lot of good jokes, and if you're a person who's ever played video games, really old ones or newer ones, you'll appreciate some of the jokes that they make and some of the references that are made to different characters in this.
Yeah, it's a fun film, great family film, but like I said, that's one thing I give that. That movie almost feels like a Pixar film to me.
It does.
But it does the same things that Pixar does, where kids will adore the film, but then of course adults can too, and that's hard to do sometimes. So yeah, That's a good one. This one I watched by myself. My mom. I talk about my dad a lot about how his tastes really influenced me and the things I like. But yeah, my mom also had a pretty big part in that as well. It was a little bit subtler in parts, but one thing that she passed on to me is love of mystery stories and whodunits. And one big one that she loved was the Sherlock Holmes series with Basil Rathbone. Of course, there's been great interpretations of Sherlock Holmes, especially in the modern day in the last 10 years or so. Robert Downey Jr., Benedict Cumberbatch, Henry Cavill now. But she just adored the Basil Rathbone films of like the 1940s, 1950s. So I have this complete collection here, which has been spectacular in that they were actually they were painstakingly restored by the UCLA Film and Television Archive. So it's all like I think there's like 14 movies in here, and it's just a spectacular collection. They look fantastic. And I actually watched the third one in this series, which is Sherlock Holmes and the Voice of Terror. So after the first two films, which the first two films were The Hound of the Baskervilles and The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, they take place in like where Sherlock Holmes normally takes place, like in the 1800s. Well, in the third film, I believe it moved studios, and they just moved him up into the modern day, which was the 1940s. And they did a little card at the front that basically said that he's like timeless and he can exist in any time frame. And then they just moved it right into the modern day. And so this is really the first one with Sherlock Holmes and Watson in the modern day. And so basically it's involving the Nazis. It's a great mystery movie. It's very entertaining. It's very noirish. And I just love it to death. And Basil Rathbone, I mean, he's one of the great actors of all time. We've seen him in a ton of other classic movies.
In Son of Frankenstein.
Yeah, he's great in Son of Frankenstein. So, I know this is still in print. So, definitely pick this up if you love Sherlock Holmes. And if you love mysteries and whodunits, I highly recommend this one.
First of all, I would like to throw in a disclaimer. He watches a lot of movies without me after I go to bed, so it's not like I'm just being a curmudgeon and saying I won't watch it.
Yeah, I usually stay up later than she does.
I have a bedtime.
Yeah.
Because I'm a grown up.
She turns into a pumpkin, basically.
So the next movie we're going to talk about is one that scared the heck out of me as a kid, and that is Carrie. And I say kid loosely. I think I was like 14 the first time I saw this. So I was actually excited and terrified to rewatch this movie because I had seen it a couple of times as a teenager, and I just remember it just scaring me to death. And so I definitely went into this one a little bit scared already, but was pleasantly surprised to find that I apparently have grown up a little and actually just really enjoyed it. It's almost not a scary movie until you get to like the last 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole first part is just this really great buildup of characters and situations, and man, do you feel bad for Carrie in this.
But the payoff is just, yeah,
it's great.
It's so great. And like I said, it really hits home for me because I think anyone that loves this film, it hits home because I think we've all been there. We've all been either bullied or kind of felt ostracized a little bit when we've been in school. And it's such a tough age because hormones are going crazy, things are changing, and you want to be cool, but you've still got all this confusion going on inside you. So, I mean, you really sympathize with her a lot in this film. And when that all goes down and she turns, you're applauding. You're like, yes, kill them all. Like you become a bloodthirsty beast or something like that. But so it wasn't that bad for you then?
No, it was not nearly as bad as I remembered. It was one of those things, I guess my mind had twisted this one particular scene into something a whole lot worse than it was. So I was pleasantly surprised to find that it wasn't that bad.
All right, so this one, of course, ended up making both of our top 10s and our top 10 sports movies. We watched quite a few sports movies on this, but it's Rudy. I mean, what else can you say? I mean, this film, the ending of it still almost makes me cry, and I've seen it like countless times. Just a great sports movie, and I'm going to steal your thunder a little bit because I thought you made a great point about it. It's like, it's so nice to have a sports movie that it's not about winning the championship at the end or anything. It's just, getting that one play, that one game, and he works so hard for just like 15, 20 seconds. And it just goes to show how if you work hard and you keep your dreams alive, that you can accomplish them and you can succeed. So it's a great film, and I know you love this one as well.
I do, and it really is nice to me just because I think we have so many sports movies that focus on winning the championship, overcoming racism, overcoming adversity, that it was kind of nice to just see one about a guy that didn't want the world, he just wanted to play. So it's definitely an underdog story, and it's definitely one to love. So, guys, I'm sorry. Eventually, I'm sure we'll get through one of these without one of these being in here, but I'm not ashamed. I'm not. Two Towers, Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, again. Because here's the thing, Michelle has comfort movies, and when Michelle is having a rough time, Michelle watches comfort movies, and Chris just has to love me for it.
Well, I think this time of year, is a stressful time for you,
It is.
and your inclination is to go back to comfort things, and so hey, I completely understand that this time of year I'm gonna watch a lot of Lord of the Rings, I'm gonna watch a lot of Harry Potter, so it's all good.
I may as well just.
You might as well throw sweat. It's comfort time. So.
I'm pretty sure this has been in all 8 videos. Again, I'm sorry. I'm not really sorry, but I'm a little sorry.
Whenever I bought that for you several years ago, I figured it would get used a lot, and I have been proven very right.
It was the best Christmas surprise ever.
It's definitely gotten the most mileage.
It has. And then you got me this for my birthday.
Yeah.
When we were very first dating. So this has had 8 years worth of love, and I probably watch these like 3 times a year.
So you're saying my husband game is strong.
Very strong.
All right, so this is the last one, and of course I love it so much I did a 10 reasons why I love this film, and completely understand that it's very controversial to love this film even for what it is. Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. Now, I think I just love everything about this film. And I think being a huge Batman fan, huge Superman fan, seen just so many different versions of both characters, that I love what Zack Snyder did with this film, and I love what he did with those characters, and that he created a situation and versions of these characters that we haven't seen before that much. And so he puts them through the ringer. He kind of tests them and stretches them to their limit and sees how they're going to react. And and of course, because of Zack Snyder in this film, we got Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. Thank you so much, Zack Snyder. She's amazing as Wonder Woman. And I am one of the few people it feels like that just really loves Lex Luthor as a villain in this film, and loves kind of his backstory surrounding this, and kind of his motivations. I know that's actually the one thing that probably really keeps you from really liking this movie, though.
Yeah, I feel like Lex Luthor is Superman's big baddie, and I feel like we got shortchanged on him. Like we just got, I don't know, his story was kind of thin, and he's sort of in the background of a lot of things. But honestly, I think I've watched this movie like 5 or 6 times by now, and I feel a little differently about it every time I watch it. There are certain parts of it that I always love, like Wonder Woman. I love Batfleck. I love Henry Cavill as Superman. Lex Luthor this time, I don't know what it was this time, but I was just like, get off the screen. I don't want to see you anymore. Get off the screen. Like, stop doing that crazy little giggle. You sound more like the Joker than Lex Luthor.
I mean, that's a common thing that I hear a lot, and I can't. I just think it comes down to whether or not you can stomach it or not, and I do really believe that it comes down to there have been. Lex Luthor is a very well-defined character, very much like Batman, Superman, in that he's had multiple versions, whether it's been, Smallville or, like I said, the Gene Hackman and the Christopher Reeve movies. I mean, just multiple different versions, that when you throw something completely different out here like this, you're asking people to really be very forgiving. Now, for me, I loved it because it was just different. It was a very idiocentric performance, but it was great. I loved it personally, but I completely understand where, I can see where you could not like that as well.
I will say, in general, I think this film benefits from rewatching it, because there were still things that we were watching this time. Like I said, this is probably my 5th or 6th time watching it, that I was still asking him questions about, because of course he sits and researches it all and looks up stuff and watches all the special features, and then I just ask questions later. But I mean, if I'm still asking questions 5 or 6 views in, it's deep and it's worth watching. There's some stuff you may not like about it, but it's still a good movie.
Mm-hmm. That's the thing. It is so dense, and a lot of people look at Zack Snyder as just being like a visual guy, but then, like you said, we're watching the film 5 or 6 times and still kind of uncovering layers to it. So, and I think I made the same conclusion at the end of my 10 Reasons Why I Love This Film. Look, I completely understand the criticisms behind it, but I think one thing you can't argue is, regardless of whatever weaknesses you think it has, is that Zack Snyder took a big chance. He rolled the dice with a lot of these characters, and he created something that we're still talking about 4 years later. And in this day and age, it's very rare to be still continuing to talk about a film that's 4 years old and was kind of like an underperformer at the box office. So I think the fact that he created something that's still being talked about, whether bad or good, is just a testament to how really bold this movie was.
And I would say, if you're going to watch this, if you've never watched it before, or if you have and this makes you want to rewatch it, don't watch this movie distracted. Go put your phone in another room and focus on the movie, because you will miss things, little details that are thrown in there. I mean, in a way, it's a really brilliantly put together film, and there's a lot there to see. So you just have to be able to pay attention to it. And I know that there were things this time that I think I hadn't really paid attention to the last couple of times I'd watched it. So like I said, just don't watch it distracted. All right, so that's it for us. Let us know in the comments, what are you guys watching? What do you want us to watch? What haven't we watched that you want us to see? What do you want me to stop watching? If you tell me Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter, it's not going to happen, but we'll roll with it.
Yeah, so, you might as well take a crack away from a crackhead. It's not happening.
But anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and ring the bell for notifications to see whenever we post a new video. In between videos, you can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and now Twitter. So please be sure to check us out there too and interact with us. We post photos and stuff every single day. So we hope to see you all soon. Have a great, safe rest of the day.
Bye.
Bye.